David here.
Corral here.
All right. If everybody would please take a look at the minutes of June 12th, 2018. There are no corrections, omissions, questions. I would move for a motion. You know what? Did we hold the minute? No, that was council.
Johnson moves to approve the Plan Commission meeting minutes from Tuesday, June 12th, 2018.
Second.
With the abstention, can we approve these? Okay. Move to hold them.
Hold them.
Motion?
Motion to hold those. Corral seconds.
Motion to hold the minutes until the next meeting when a voting quorum is present. Make that clear. All those in favor, roll call.
And I.
Johnson, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Corral, aye.
Okay. Significant common council actions. Carrie?
Council approved a resolution approving a certified survey map for Tony DeRosa HSI Properties LLC for the properties at 8300, 8304, 8310, and 8380 South 27th Street and 8370 South Orchard Way. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. We have one public hearing tonight. That is item 5A. It's a comprehensive plan amendment. And that is for our 2020 vision. It's a comprehensive plan for the city of Oak Creek. It would update the plan use category and the map too for the comprehensive plan business resource protection area and limited development area. It would also include the planned industrial and resource protection areas for the properties at 9600, 9700 South 13th, and 1001 West Ryan Road. Who's got that one?
I'll read the public notice into record. Official notice of public hearing before the Oak Creek Plan Commission. The purpose of this public hearing is to consider an amendment to the 2020 vision, a comprehensive plan for the city of Oak Creek, as it relates to the properties at 9600 and 9700 South 13th Street and 1001 West Ryan Road. The hearing date is Tuesday, June 26, 2018 at 6 p.m. at the Oak Creek City Hall, 8040 South 6th Street, Oak Creek, Wisconsin 53154 in the Common Council Chambers. Proposed amendment would update the planned land use category and map 2 in the comprehensive plan from planned business, resource protection area, and limited development area to planned industrial and resource protection area for the properties at 9600 and 9700 South 13th Street and 1001 West Ryan Road. The Plan Commission may schedule other public meetings or items for June 26, 2018. This hearing may begin at 6 p.m. or as soon as possible following the conclusion of any other public meeting or items or public hearings. Any persons with questions regarding the proposed changes may call the Department of Community Development during regular business hours. The date of the notice is May 16, 2018. City of Oak Creek Plan Commission by Daniel J. Bukevich, Mayor. This is a public hearing. Those wishing to speak on this matter should approach the podium, state your name and address clearly, and address the Plan Commission. This public hearing is now open.
Great, thank you. Before we call people up, any narrative on the plan? Carrie?
Proposal is to change the land use category slightly to allow for planned industrial. Parcels in the area are currently in the comprehensive plan identified for planned business, planned industrial, resource protection, and limited development areas. Existing uses in the area are quick service restaurants with drive-through facilities on the northwest and west, the gas station, natural area, retail and business park to the west, small industrial and agricultural/park zone land to the south, agricultural and rail lines to the east, agricultural park, residential, industrial, self-storage, and grocery distribution and warehousing to the north. The proposal is to change for the 3 properties to planned industrial, with some area protected and maintained as that resource protection area. Planned industrial would allow for the development of a business park on a majority of the properties. Changes to those areas identified as resource protection area and limited development area would reflect the anticipated land exchange with Milwaukee County Parks, which is currently in progress. And the state of Wisconsin Smart Growth Law requires that all local land use decisions after January 1st, 2010 must be consistent with the objectives, goals, and policies contained within the comprehensive plan. Approval of these changes to the comprehensive plan would bring the comprehensive plan in line with the intent and goals for future development of the properties for future industrial purposes. I will defer to the director for additional comments at this time, but there is a suggested motion for approval.
Great. Thank you. As Carrie stated, it is a public hearing. We will make 3 calls. I do have some requests for speakers, but I think they're on different items just based on the addresses. There's a couple for Harley. There's a couple over on Drexel Avenue. If I'm missing it, please let me know. But we will make the first call. Anybody wishing to speak, please approach the podium, give your name and address. This is the first call. Second call. Third and final call. Okay, we will now close the public hearing, item 5A, and we will move on to new business, item 6A, comprehensive plan. That is consideration of that amendment that we just had the public hearing for. So, questions from the commission? Christina? Nobody? Pat? No. This one just kind of fits our comprehensive overall plan. It's in with our comprehensive plan, our vision. It's really just being prepared for whatever may come forward in the near future or distant future. So if there are no questions, no comments, Brian, motion.
Farrell moves
Oh.
that the commission adopts resolution 2018-05, amending the comprehensive plan and planned land use map to reflect the changes in land use from planned business, resource protection area, and limited development area to planned industrial and resource protection area for the properties at 9600 and 9700 South 13th Street and 1001 West Ryan Road, following review and adoption by the Common Council.
Johnson seconds.
Roll call.
And I.
Johnston, aye.
Carla, I.
Kavich, aye?
Correll, aye.
Okay. Item 6B is conditions and restrictions, and we're going to review conditions and restrictions for a planned unit development for the properties at 8300, 8304, 8310, 8380 South 27th Street, and 8370 South Orchard Way, submitted by Tony DeRosa, HSI Properties LLC, and Apple Tower Developments, Inc., LLC. Carrie?
And commissioners will recall that there was a recommendation for approval at the last meeting, which was June 12th. It's affecting the properties that are highlighted in red on the screen. If you go to the conditions and restrictions that were provided in your packet, just a couple of items to draw to your attention. On page 2 of 9, again, all requirements of the City of Oak Creek Municipal Code as amended are in effect, so anything that is not stated therein must still maintain code compliance. Page 3 of 9, under 3, site and use restrictions, maintenance, and operation requirements. There shall be a maximum of 12 multifamily buildings and a maximum of 225 units. Accessory buildings, garages, a clubhouse, and pool may be permitted so long as they are compliant with all applicable provisions of the municipal code and these conditions and restrictions. B, the clubhouse shall not exceed 30 feet in height. No other accessory building in the PUDs shall exceed 17 feet in height. I draw this to the Plan Commission's attention because while this was not actually in the request for the PUD, because there is a similar proposal to what was in Drexel Ridge, this is proposed for the Plan Commission's consideration in case the clubhouse does exceed 17 feet in height, as it did for that proposal. Under 4, parking and access, a traffic impact analysis shall be performed and submitted to the engineering department for review prior to the submission of applications for plan review of site, building, landscaping, lighting, and similar plans. Required roadway improvements and modifications identified in the TIA shall be the responsibility of the property owner. Access to 27th Street is in accordance with executed agreements and access management plans, subject to the review and approval of the DOT. Such approvals shall be provided to the city prior to the submission of building permit applications. Parking of vehicles adjacent to attached and detached garages shall be permissible, provided that no parked vehicle shall extend beyond nor obstruct any public right-of-way or public sidewalk. Private roadway access to South Orchard Way shall be permitted only within the northerly 300 feet of the development and shall be restricted to that which is depicted on the approved general development plan, which is Exhibit A in these conditions and restrictions. Construction access to the site shall be limited to 27th Street. No construction vehicles may access the site from South Orchard Way. Under item 6, you'll see that setbacks are provided for the general PUD. Due to the number of setback modifications that were requested, a reference to the site plan showing those modifications is noted in Exhibit B, which is also attached to the conditions and restrictions. If there are any further modifications to setback requirements, that will be something that the Plan Commission and ultimately the council will have to make a determination about. Lastly, item 7, time of compliance. The operator of the plan unit development shall commence work within 18 months, and that the plan unit development approval shall expire within 18 months if a building permit has not been issued. If the Plan Commission is satisfied with these conditions and restrictions, there is a suggested motion for approval. And if there are any questions, staff would be happy to try and answer those for you at this time. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you much, Carrie. At this time, commissioners, do you have anything question-wise?
I have a question. So, like I've seen in the older packet from previous meeting, has the county park request has been addressed?
The county parks letter actually talks about a wetland that was more than 100 feet away. As proposed, the general development plan is more than 20 feet from the property line, so it's more than 120 feet away to the nearest impact potentially. The county letter did not request any specific buffer, so we are looking at landscaping to fulfill that kind of additional buffer along the east side, which will be determined at site plan review. And again, there was no specific request from the county parks.
You're correct. Just number 2, it says no encroachment, which is 120 feet away. So there's no encroachment, however, no impacts as well. So impact from property owners, residents, whatsoever. So that needs to be ensured that it's going to happen from the property owner somehow.
The request was for the property to be staked so that there would be no encroachment beyond that, and the applicant has indicated that they are willing to do that.
Anyone else ready yet? Questions? If not, I guess I'll bring it up. Let's go to the clubhouse, where it will not exceed 30 feet, but, oh wait, I'm sorry. No other accessory building would go 17 feet. We had issues with that at Drexel Ridge because of the gables.
Yeah, it's just taller, right?
Right.
The issue with Drexel Ridge's clubhouse was that it was going to be an accessory structure that exceeded 17 feet. The 30 feet was actually requested by the applicant at that time. This is just copying and pasting from that exact thing as a point of conversation between the applicant and the Plan Commission. I don't believe that clubhouse actually exceeded 30 feet, and I don't believe it actually exceeded 20 feet in height. But this allows that to go up to 30 feet.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that because I remembered Drexel Ridge. It's a nice looking clubhouse, and if it looks anything like that, I want to say it was about 20 feet, 22 feet.
Yeah, I don't know what it ended up, but did they have to come back to us to get the 30 feet, or I don't remember?
It was included as part of the PUD as here.
Okay. And maybe they can speak to exactly how tall it ended up?
My name is Tony DeRosa, 18500 West Corporate Drive. At the time, we requested 30 feet because we didn't have a design height at that point in the process 3 years ago. We knew we were going to have a tower element. And I don't have the exact height off the top of my head, but we're plus or minus 20 feet. I know it's not 30 feet. And the whole building, usually it's just a tower element of it that would be a little bit taller than the rest of the building.
And I don't have an issue with that. I mean, it actually
Looks great.
affronts 27th Street, and I think that building should be a little more prominent, actually. So, as long as I gotcha. Item C, 27th Street, not a big deal. Vehicles parked to the adjacent garage. Okay. Construction, no problem coming on 27th Street.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Traffic in, let's go. Everybody's here for the traffic impact analysis, so let's go to that. We are going to do a traffic impact analysis for that area.
Yep, that's correct.
We're looking at some solutions. Looks like a lot of people were here prior last week at council. We had extensive discussion over traffic on Orchard Way and ways to mitigate that traffic. So engineering's been working on some things. Has that been discussed with the applicant yet, or is that just being kicked around in our department? Your
We are
department?
still looking at things that we can do with
Okay.
traffic calming to that area.
Okay. I guess we're not ready to throw it out there, but it greatly mitigates traffic on Orchard Way South. I really hate to just leave you with a cliffhanger like that, but it was looking good.
If I may, and I think what Brian's referring to, or Commissioner Johnson's referring to, is any potential physical improvements to that intersection at Orchard Way and the main street there, whatever that was.
Portland.
In Cortland. But the things that we have discussed internally and have actually discussed with the applicant, if you take a look at your general development plan, and I'll try and kind of explain it because I know as you guys can't see it up here, but as you come up off Orchard Way to the north, you see that there is a driveway from the 220 unit buildings coming out adjacent to the water tower. We are asking that driveway be eliminated. We're also asking that the southernmost driveway between the two 15-unit buildings be eliminated, and that essentially the only access to Orchard Way, aside from those individual garage units that are, I think, 3 different garage units that are fronting on Orchard Way. Aside from that, you could only access Orchard Way from the northernmost driveway. We feel that will make Orchard Way a much less attractive option for those folks within the development who would more than likely utilize 27th Street for the bulk of any trips that they may be making, given the fact that, there's no really direct connection for the majority of the development, and it's much easier just to utilize the main road off of 27th Street.
Well explained, Doug. And again, that would limit your exposure to the 220 units. And one thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Doug, I don't want to speak out of turn, but the northernmost driveway, or roadway we'll call it, with the 220 units that abut the park, there'd be a no left-hand turn sign lane there.
We're trying to work out whether that be an effective traffic signalization there. At this point, we haven't come to that conclusion yet.
No, and it's not that people are bound to obey signs, but most citizens are pretty good about it. We think we have significantly hindered traffic going southbound with this solution.
Any feedback from the applicant on that
No,
conversation?
Tony, is this the first time you're seeing this?
No, I've been working with staff this week in terms of closing those 2 driveways. We said we were okay with that. I think that makes sense. Mr. Mayor, your comment about the stop sign and no left turn, I did have some hesitation on it for a variety of reasons, some of which
Yeah.
you alluded to. But
And again, that either way, but I just think the exposure, everybody from them 15s is going to go to the west. It just ain't going to make any sense to double back. I guess that was kind of the big thing there. And then 27th Street to parking. Otherwise, I don't see a whole lot here that's bothering me. You guys?
Well, with those 2 changes, the first that I've heard that, you've minimized about the only way you can Orchard. And I think the fact that they're willing to do that, there's no advantage to anyone to head that way, so I think it makes sense.
And again, it still gives us the connectivity we're looking for, and it was stated many times at the last council meeting, just how important that is, that we don't wind up kind of making a solution that leads to greater problems later on without impacting Apple Creek. They made it pretty loud and clear we needed to make some adjustments, so we're putting them out there. Any comments from audience? I'll give you a shot. Anybody that's here from the Apple Creek subdivision? Want to say anything? Please come to the podium, sir. Be fair to you guys.
Paul Ruffalo, 8486 South Melrose Drive. I was listening and I must not have caught it. Are only the 220 units and the 15 unit going to have access to that, or is it still all going to be open to 27th Street ultimately? Forget the signs, but I mean, is it all going to be open? The two circled areas, can you see
Okay, the
that?
two circled areas would be closed off. So the farthest road to the south there that ties into Cortland, that would go away. So
Okay.
there'd be no access there. And then that second circle farther north between the two 15 units, that would be closed off. So you could not come from the apartments west onto
Circle
Orchard
all the
Way
way
there.
around.
Okay,
So the only way you could is up on the north. And then, of course, the 20 units could come out on the northern end.
that was a question I had. Thank you.
Okay. I hope I made myself as clear as I could there. Anyone else? No? Okay. Brian, yes.
I know that we were talking about some setbacks, and I don't, do these numbers show the new setbacks? Did any of those buildings get tweaked along Orchard Way?
The drawing that you see on the screen does not reflect it. If anything, those buildings, those setbacks have increased in response to your comment at the last plan commission meeting.
Okay, just to make sure we got the correct exhibit in here when we go forward with this.
Because there are changes to the general development plan in terms of access, and because there were some changes to the setbacks, we do need updated exhibit drawings so that we have an accurate reflection in the conditions and restrictions.
We can provide that.
Okay, and I'll need that before the council hearing. Thank you.
And just to be clear to the residents of Apple Creek, them 3 15-unit buildings, they will have driveways on Orchard Way, but that's only one unit
Per building.
per building. So that's only one unit per building. It's not like all 15 units can utilize that drive. So just full disclosure there for you guys. Oh, there you go. Got X's in there. Way to go. That's all I have for questions. Christine, anything? No? Dawn? No? Seeing nothing else, I'll take a motion.
Johnson moves that the Plan Commission recommends that the Common Council adopts the conditions and restrictions as part of the multifamily residential plan unit development for the properties at 8300, 8304, 8310, and 8380 South 27th Street and 8370 South Orchard Way after a public hearing.
Corral seconds.
Roll call.
Anna, I.
Johnson, aye.
Bill, I.
Kavich, aye.
Corral, aye.
Item 6C is a conditional use amendment. It is for Camp Bow Wow. It's an amended for an existing conditional use for an animal boarding kennel and dog care with an outdoor exercise area at the property at 8411 South Liberty Lane. Carrie?
This is a request to amend the existing conditional use permit for what was Puppy Playground on that site. That was an animal boarding, kennel, and dog daycare facility with outdoor exercise area. Section 6E of the existing conditions and restrictions limited the number of dogs to be on site to a maximum of 50 at any given time. For your information, Puppy Playground ceased their operations more than a year ago. Also for your reference, this is the proposed site plan as of right now. It's a general concept plan for what would become Camp Bow Wow on the site. And this is the subject of tonight's discussion. As you can see, there would be a proposed addition to the existing building, which would also add some outdoor play areas onto that addition. There would be approximately a 51 by 101 addition onto the back of the existing building. 5 new outdoor kennels of various sizes would also be added onto the west. The request is for up to 137 dogs to be at the site at any given time. There should be some consideration given to the existing building size and the new building size. The indoor play area as currently drafted would be about 1,965 square feet. The outdoor area would be about 2,094 square feet. Interior, the kennels would be, there would be 20 small kennels according to the current layout, and this may change, for a total of 320 square feet, 53 medium kennels for a total of 1,272 square feet, and 3 large kennels with a total of 144 square feet. There are also 6 unspecified luxury cabin kennel type things that are in that would be in the existing building. So we're talking about, without the luxury kennels, approximately 3,700 square feet of interior space devoted to animal play or animal housing. Per the narrative that was submitted, there's approximately 60 square feet that's required for every dog to be in compliance with requirements. So with the total of 3,700 square feet, and then 60 square feet per dog, that would be about 62 dogs. That's taking out, again, the square footage for the luxury cabins because we don't have that. Now, again, the request is for up to 137 dogs, but there was also some information provided by the applicant regarding the Waukesha location, which is similar in size and layout to this proposed facility. And they provide daycare and boarding for a maximum of 108 dogs. So staff is recommending in the conditions and restrictions 108 dogs as a maximum as opposed to the 137 dogs that was requested. But again, this is all for Plan Commission consideration and discussion. There is a suggested motion that the Plan Commission recommends that the Common Council approve a conditional use permit amendment for the property at 8411 South Liberty Lane after a public hearing. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. At this time, I'll open it up for questions from the commission. Concerns? It's kind of different. We haven't quite had this one yet. I guess I'll start. I mean, if anybody's kind of noticed, there are a lot of dogs in this town. Without a doubt, this must be a in-demand business for the extensions they're putting through. Just looking around Drexel Town Square, the number of dogs we have, and I think our dog days is a testament to that. It's going to 2 days. It's been wildly popular. But I guess my question is 137 dogs does seem like a lot of dogs to me. So come on up. Name and address, please.
My name is Leah Beauchart, and then we're at 8411 South Liberty Lane in Oak Creek. So I'm the camp director at the current Camp Bow Wow in Waukesha. Again, we are slated to have 108 dogs at our facility. It sounds like a lot to a lot of people, but like you mentioned, there's a lot of dogs. Same in Waukesha, there's a lot of dogs, a lot of people that need this type of service provided to them and their pets. The location here is actually going to be larger than the one in Waukesha. So Waukesha currently has 4 indoor play yards and 4 outdoor play yards, and we're at roughly 6,000 square feet. The new building here is going to have an additional outdoor play yard. So there'll be 5 indoor, 5 outdoor play yards. So that's a whole nother play yard than what we currently have, and it'll be 2,000 square feet larger than the current Waukesha location. So if Waukesha is at 108, with this additional space provided here at Oak Creek, I believe we can comfortably house 137 dogs. That again is the maximum capacity. As mentioned, the number of cabins or suites available for overnight care is about 70 spaces for dogs. So we would never house likely over 80 dogs overnight, and that's at booked capacity. So holidays, potentially summer weekends, things like that. So we won't be at that capacity all the time. Waukesha, we are at capacity a lot of the time. And again, this number includes daycare and boarding. And we hit the capacity in Waukesha fairly often because we need to expand. We need an additional yard. We need additional square footage, which why I think Oak Creek size is great. Larger space will be able to accommodate more dogs as needed. And being close to the airport, I think it's definitely something that people will enjoy.
Questions, Pat?
I guess, we try and leave it to the experts. So they're telling us they have room for 137. We've got 108. So what do we base that on?
We based it on interior space, not exterior space, because there's not going to be any boarding in the exterior space. So there's likely going to be periods of time where dogs are rotating in and out. So the interior square footage is what we were counting on, especially considering that this is going to be operating during all times of the year. So while we may have outdoor play area, we need to make sure that there's enough space interior for all the animals that are going to be housed there. So the 60 square foot per dog calculation came from the submitted narrative. The interior square footage is an estimate based on a general interior floor plan. The 108 came from, again, the narrative supplied saying what was similar to Waukesha. Again, similar size facility, albeit this may be a little bit larger. And then, of course, the calculation of 62 dogs is, again, based on
Just
that
the
interior
math.
calculation.
Just the math based on
Correct.
the floor plan and what the state requires for space.
Correct. Now,
dog.
the 62 dogs, again, the calculation for that is taking out the additional interior space that may be devoted to kenneling, and that's because we don't have those calculations, we don't have those measurements. So it could be that 108 dogs could comfortably be housed here at any one time. But again, the 137 was a roundup based on the entire square footage of the facility.
So if the applicant looks at their layout and does the math, you can determine where we're comfortable with the number?
Well,
a
again, we're
recommendation.
taking into consideration that the interior floor plan also includes areas that that won't accommodate dogs. So your employee restrooms, your reception area, those kinds of things. We take that out because, again, that's not where the dogs are going to be. We went based on the interior square footage that would be devoted specifically to the dogs. But again, it's up for Plan Commission consideration and discussion.
Well, and all I can base on, the state says you need X amount, and the building plans give us a total, do the math, and it tells you how many dogs. I just think you've got to understand how we're coming up with that number, and then you can make whatever alterations you choose to do or not. But I'm comfortable with the math.
I know, I'm like,
I think he's saying
Which way are we
comfortable
going
with the
with?
I'm
108.
comfortable with Carrie's math because she gave me a reason of why we came up with that based on what you presented. Now, if you have the ability to change that layout to whatever way it gives you more space, then I guess the math would come out differently and we'd have a different number.
Sure.
But I have to rely on
And
that.
she mentioned the outdoor play yards. We are a year-round facility. At the Waukesha location, the dogs have access to inside and outside the entire time that we are open. So we have boarding dogs who go in the cabins for specified meal breaks, and then we have daycare dogs that are out in the play yards all day long. So the play yards, again, there's 5 of them. So there's roughly 25 dogs per play yard. That's corporate mandated. There's one camp counselor to every 25 dogs. Sounds like a lot. It's like a kindergarten classroom. We know the dogs. They all actually go through an interview process with us, so we make sure that they're suitable for this type of environment. I actually, if you guys are interested, have brochures, and I have folders that we give to first day clients with lots of information about us. So being a franchise, I'd like to say we know what we're doing. Have a degree in animal behavior. Safety is always number one. Seeing as the dogs, again, we will never house 137 dogs overnight. So there will never be 137 dogs solely inside. Running year round, they have access to outside all day. Again, assuming there's no extremely inclement weather. When it's negative 40, we'll shut the doors, open them occasionally for potty breaks. But usually on those days, we're also not at capacity because people stay home and don't need their dogs exercised. So again, that 137 includes our daycare dogs. So the dogs who are out in the play yards, inside, outside all day. And again, overnight care would likely be right around 80-ish when you have multiple dog households staying in a cabin. Yeah.
What's your average booking per day out in Waukesha?
So our max capacity in Waukesha is 108. Legally. My comfort level there, we have 4 play yards, so I don't like to have over 100 dogs on site. And again, that's for safety and comfort level of our play yards, so they're not crammed full and the dogs are having fun and they're safe. So we'll book to 100 3 days a week, but again, that includes boarding and daycare dogs. We are booked almost 3 weekends out right now for boarding. So our boarding cabins are full. We have 50 cabins there, so I don't believe we'd have any problem filling the cabins here. And again, I think it's something that the community needs.
You said legally 108, so that's what they allowed you to have?
Correct.
Based on that square footage? Which
Correct.
is how much less than the square footage here?
2,000 square feet less.
But that's outside space, Carrie? What amount of that is inside?
We're counting just interior space. Now, that the figure that I quoted for 3,700 square feet roughly is probably a little bit low. And that's because that was based on the number of kennels. The actual number is probably higher than that, which is why staff is comfortable with the 108 that was recommended in the Waukesha example. The 137, where are the dogs going to go if you have at capacity 137 dogs and there's inclement weather? Where are they going to be in the space?
So again, when inclement weather happens, we're 99% of the time not at capacity because people are home, because people are choosing to keep their dogs at home. Again, there's the cabins, the indoor yards can get shut. We have the luxury suites, which I believe we decided are 8 feet by 7 feet. Those luxury suites are interior rooms that have cameras in them, so owners can view the dogs when they're in the luxury suites 24/7, check up on the dogs, see how they're doing. So again, we have those 6 areas. There's a grooming area, so dogs can go in there, the offices, the bathrooms, the lobby. It's not necessarily where they would stay without staff, but say there's inclement weather, they go in those places with staff. We do staff 1 person to every 15 dogs in the building. So it may be 1 to 25 people in the play yards, but then there are additional staff out of the play yards able to assist in emergencies, inclement weather, moving dogs as needed.
So an update on the math.
Yes.
If the addition is roughly 51 square feet, and then the luxury suites are 8 by 7, and there are going to be 6 of those, if my math is correct, that means that we have about 87 square feet for an addition for dog space, interior only, just for the sake of argument. If you divide that by the 60 square feet required per dog, we're already up to 91 dogs. So keep that in mind. That's only interior space devoted to dogs. Again, not reception area, not any back of house, not any office spaces, and not including any exterior spaces. So
Mayor, it's just a difficult one because we're not an
Yeah.
expert in it. I've got three dogs left behind by kids that I'd love to board somewhere. So that being
Sure.
notwithstanding, I just don't really know what
Yeah.
the right number.
And I mean, again, we're a franchise, so there's 153 camps nationwide right now. We are the top in the industry, and so the 137 is also what corporate is comfortable with. So corporate has viewed these, has come up with the plans with us.
So you have other facilities of similar square footage with 137
Yes.
dogs?
And I'm sure we could contact corporate and get another letter or things for you guys about those facilities, because there are larger facilities than us that house more dogs. But yes, it is, the ratio stands all across.
Harry?
one more update to the math. If we're doing numbers, might as well give you everything. If you want to include those outdoor kennel spaces, or not kennel spaces, but outdoor play areas, that adds some square footage, obviously. We're up to 126 dogs that would be allowed just for the interior space and exterior space that would be provided for the dogs only.
Okay, can I add something? Sure. So after hearing the latest math and what you have said, I will only be comfortable with 108, regardless of how many square footage. Unfortunately for all of us, we live in Wisconsin, so we only have 3 months out of the year, maybe 4, that the weather would be nice, and people travel. So even if the weather is inclement, people travel, so they're not at the luxury of coming home and picking up their dogs. So I would be very comfortable at the max of 108 at one time to be housed indoors, and the dogs have enough space. I have 3 dogs of my own, and I would not want them to be outdoors running around.
Ryan, anything? Any thoughts? You a dog guy? You got dogs?
I do have a dog, yes. I've only got 1 dog, though.
Good for you.
I'm down from 3, down to 1.
I have 4, so it's fine.
Yeah. it's a lot of math, and I think we're confusing a little bit of space for overnight and space for dogs there during daytime hours where they're just running around. I think the 60 square feet, that's for boarding requirements. Is that correct? That's the space they need overnight to board, or is that just a dog space in the building?
That would be something that I would have to ask the applicant to comment on.
Is that daycare space or is that boarding space, right?
Yeah, if dogs are just out in the play area running around,
Right.
how do you quantify that this is that dog's 60 square feet?
Right. I'll be honest,
So-
I do not know that answer,
No,
but
if-
it's something
if
we
it
could
is-
find out.
If it's just boarding space, we're talking a maximum of 80 dogs to board there. I think the 137 is feasible if corporate's okay with that, and the dogs are running around in play spaces. We're not talking overnight stays of 137 dogs.
You know, if we're going back to the inclement weather too, we have no problem if we see inclement weather coming, snowstorms, semi-predictable, we can shut down and say we're not accepting any daycare dogs, but we will have staff on site caring for the boarding dogs. We'll pop cots up, stay overnight. We're animal people, that's what we do. We're there for the dogs. So we don't have a problem shutting down, saying we're not accepting daycare during this time frame. For reasons of not having space for all of them. And owners are very understanding. We've done that at Waukesha this past winter when there was something coming. So that's also an option too.
And even at that, you have, at least looking at the layout that we're provided here, looks like there's 70 kennels there, plus the inside
Correct.
areas that they can be using to accommodate that amount of dogs.
So if the Plan Commission wants to split out the number of dogs that can be on site for daycare facility as opposed to boarding, staff can do that, but staff would need to have direction from the Plan Commission about number of dogs for each that would be allowed.
And that's where it
Is there
gets.
a boarding number that you have? Did I miss?
You mentioned 80,
I
right?
thought.
Well, that's a guesstimate. So if we have 70 cabins, if you have one dog in every cabin, I have 70 boarding dogs. But you have families who have 3 dogs who want them boarding together. So then there's 3 in a cabin. So it's really just how many multi-dog households. Again, at Waukesha, we have 50 cabins. We don't usually go over 63 boarding dogs max overnight.
But if you had more boarding dogs and
Then I would take
and a
less.
maximum on, I'm sorry, more day.
I know.
Dogs are, and less overnight. If we set a standard, I think you have a better chance to get closer to your number, possibly with some of us. I mean, depending on the business, if it's retail, if it's manufacturing, if it's restaurants, we rely on the experts to tell us this is how many people we need, this is how much space we need, this is what they do. So to Brian, Commissioner Johnson's point, they're the experts. They want to stay in business. They got 130 some. You know, if it becomes a puppy disaster, they're going to be out of business. So I somewhat rely on their information. I think the number is somewhere closer to Carrie's last calculation in that 125 range, and maybe a limit on overnight, at least for me. That's, I guess, where I'll leave it based on the information we have.
Sure.
And based on the kennel sizes, I would say that 60 square feet is a general daytime, not a kenneling situation. Because if we have 4x4 cabins, obviously that's not 60 square feet per dog.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I shared a bedroom with 3 brothers. We didn't get 60 square feet.
Too much information.
Man, Dawn, any thoughts?
Not a dog person, but I'm thinking if it's a tornado coming or something, right? There's enough places to put the dogs inside. I can't imagine snow falling. You could still have dogs outside, but
We shovel the yards out. I'll be honest, at Waukesha, there's typically no snow in the play yards.
Great spot
other
for it.
inclement weather, but
I mean, the spot's right for it. The city needs something
Yeah.
to that degree. Depending on the commissioner, I'd be willing to throw some type of numbers out there for direction.
I tend to agree with Pat. It's tricky because I no longer have dogs, but it's hard to say. I'd rely on the experts too. I guess I had a better level, a comfort level, saying you have other franchises.
Yeah, again,
that have
153.
this. And if we're going
franchises.
2,000 square foot bigger, and you're doing 108 there, we're talking another 30 dogs.
Carrie, if we were to propose a change to the restrictions, where would we plug in a daytime number and a overnight number?
Page 2 of 5 of the conditions and restrictions under section 3, site and use restrictions, maintenance and operation requirements. You'll see that letter D, there shall be no more than 108 dogs at the facility at any one time. That would be where we would change it.
And I'll say it's difficult to do a boarding and daycare number because if I only have 20 boarding dogs, then I can take 110 daycare dogs. But if I have 80 boarding dogs, I can take way less daycare dogs. So I guess if we'd want to do a max boarding
We
for
did a max
overnight
boarding,
and then
and a max,
daycare,
total, yeah.
right, max total. Yep.
I mean, that's what I'm envisioning, a max boarding and a max total dogs.
Yeah, and that would be much more feasible than
And
the,
if we threw out a number of 80 and 125, is put in wherever, I can't find it in all my papers here. 2 of 5.
Page 2 of 5, 3D.
Yeah.
All yellow.
I reprinted mine. I might not have
Oh,
this.
you know what?
I
You
wasn't
don't-
going to be here.
You don't have the highlights.
Yeah, oh, that's why. No more. Okay, under D. So is that going to be part of our motion, Carrie, or do you just stipulate that?
If you give me the max boarding and the max total, then I will say that the Plan Commission has changed the conditions and restrictions. You don't need to necessarily specify that in the motion, as long as we're all clear on what D is going to say.
My proposal for that motion would be a maximum number of 80 boarded dogs, or 125 dogs total on a daily basis. Based on what they propose, Carrie, if that changes drastically with that layout,
and then, yeah, I guess if I can also add so we have 70 cabins in the drawings, and then we also have 6 luxury suites. So then if there was one dog in each one, we'd be at 76, give or take a few additional dogs, 85-ish with those luxury suites.
I'm okay with the 85 number with the max at 125. And we can all vote on that, but I'm going to get a motion on the floor, and then we can go from there.
All right.
Are there questions I can answer for you?
No, I'm not okay with stuffing dogs in cabins just because we want to get numbers.
Oh,
answer
that
is
is
no.
not what we do. So I majored in animal behavior at Carroll University. I have 4 dogs of my own. Safety is number 1. So again, all dogs go through interview processes. So we don't have aggressive dogs. We don't have, it's not the place for every dog. I have 4. One of them doesn't do well at camp. We're not about the money. It's about dogs having fun and the owners having a safe place for the dogs to go. We have live webcams. The owners can watch the dogs while they're there. We don't have anything to hide. We want these dogs to have fun, and we want to be able to provide an environment that they can do that and owners a place that they can trust. I don't have a problem dismissing dogs from camp even after they've passed the interview if they start to develop behavior problems or if they start to get extra nervous or something happens. I don't want them there because it stresses them out. So we're all about safety. I would never cram dogs in. I'm not going to shove them in random places when there's a typical situation. When there are the inclement weather, again, we will shut down. We'll make sure we have spaces that there's staff monitoring everybody. But I'm not just putting dogs in cabins so I can hit that 135. It's again, at Waukesha, we hit capacity regularly because people want us. We turn them away. If I wanted to make money, I'd let them in the doors anyway and shove them all in cabins and just let them have limited play. I want them to play as much as they can. So we're not just putting them in cabins to get them in the door and to make money.
The 80 for me would be my max.
The which one?
The 80
For boarding?
overnight, correct. Max
And-
125 per day.
Sure.
Let's leave it at 80 and 25, and Corral will 80 and 125. Corral recommends that the Plan Commission recommends the Common Council approve a conditional use permit amendment for the property at 8411 South Liberty Lane after a public hearing.
Johnson seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, I.
Johnson, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Corral, aye.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Enjoy them.
That was different.
Yep. It's a needed commodity here in the city, without a doubt. Walking around the city, and even as we're doing events, there's just more and more dogs accompanying their owners.
Just I want them and don't want to keep
Do you have a camp for kids? I have 3 of them. I want to give them away.
Okay, moving on. Item 6D is a certified survey map submitted by Richard Reuven, RW Howell LLC, dividing the property at 8355 South Howell Avenue. Carrie?
Plan commissioners will note that there was an update to the CSM. You should all have copies of the latest version at your stations. The proposal is to divide a single conforming lot off of the existing lot for future commercial development. What that would look like would be one lot along Howell Avenue with access to the existing building on Lot 2. Zoom in so you can see that a little bit better. And as you can see, there are wetlands that have been delineated, so they are appearing here. There is an access easement for the benefit of Lot 1 over Lot 2. As you can see, there would not be additional access to Howell Avenue per DOT. So there is a condition that was included prior to receiving this updated map for the cross-access easement, since that is now shown on the CSM. Condition number 1 can be stricken, and that there is one condition requiring technical corrections as a standard condition to be maintained. If the Plan Commission is satisfied with the proposal, there is that suggested motion for approval, subject to condition number, which would be shown on your staff report as condition 2, would be condition 1. Is that clear as mud?
I think so.
Okay. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. This time I'll open it up for questions from the commission. Brian, anything with the wetlands? I mean, it's about 1.5 acres, slightly over. Depending on what goes there, I'm just a little concerned. How would parking be impacted with the wetlands? Anything? Because they're losing a good portion.
It's going to depend on their site layout, and we have no idea what that's going to look like at this time. There's always potential for filling those wetlands as well.
Guess that's all I really have. It's really just a CSM. Pat, anything? Dawn? Christina? No? Nothing else? Motion on 6D then.
Johnson moves that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that the certified survey map submitted by Richard Reuven, RW Howell LLC for the property at 8355 South Howell Avenue be approved with the following condition: that all technical corrections, including but not limited to spelling errors, minor coordinate geometry corrections, and corrections required for compliance with the Municipal Code of Wisconsin statutes are made prior to recording.
Carl seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, aye.
Johnson, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Corral, aye.
Item 6E, plan review. We're going to review some site, building, and landscape and lighting plans submitted by Gino Plitt, Bayview Industries, Inc., for an addition to the existing manufacturing building on the property at 8721 South 10th Street. Gary?
The proposal is to add 29,240 square feet onto the west for warehouse and storage space for equipment per the included narrative from the applicant. What this is on the screen right now, the current building layout. So the addition will be, my cursor won't go there. The addition will be in the southwest corner of the building itself. So roughly this area in red. On the screen right now is the proposed site layout that shows that addition. The addition is highlighted in orange. Existing parking would also move with that addition and be located along the west side. There would be 2 new overhead dock doors on the east side of the building. That is not anything to do with the addition. However, the original site layout for the building, had those 2 dock doors provided for. They are simply wishing to have those activated at this time. There is an existing dust collector that will be relocated on the northwest, and that will be screened with a chain fence and slats in those chain in that chain material. They are not anticipating any additional employees with this addition. This is more for storage space. They are expanding their operations, and because business is so good for them, they need additional space. Also, the equipment has changed from the original time that the building was constructed, so the equipment dimensions are a little bit different, and they need to have that extra space to store that equipment as well. Again, parking on the west will be located on the addition, so it's basically just going to move out. They do have enough room to accommodate that parking. Overall, the parking numbers will remain largely unchanged. There will be 1 new striped stall on the west with this addition. The minimum requirements for warehouse uses are 1 stall for every 5,000 gross square feet, plus 1 stall for every peak employee. Now, per the information that was submitted by the applicant, they have about 220 total employees between 2 shifts. The largest shift has about a 120 to 160 range for employees on site. That would be 166 required stalls. But the plans are showing 130 employee stalls and 7 customer stalls. They have not mentioned any issues with their current parking situation. And again, since this is going to be largely unchanged in terms of numbers, the Plan Commission does have the authority to make that modification under Section 170404 to change the number of required stalls. If the future operational needs of the business were to expand for employee or other purposes, then we would have to look at additional parking. The proposed building addition would match the existing, so these are some color renderings showing what is there now and what's being proposed. So some of those materials would be smooth finish and form liner finish precast insulated concrete wall panels that would simulate the existing CMU on the building. Also insulated metal panel to match the adjacent metal panel on the northern portion of the building, and that would be on the west. They are also adding clear story windows to match the existing clear story windows on the south elevation. And 1 new overhead roll-up door will be on the far northwest corner of the addition. Metal panels are not listed as an acceptable primary exterior building material, but they can be used as accent materials comprising a maximum of 25% of the visible perimeter. And again, another section of code states that the facade of a manufacturing, commercial, office, institutional, park building shall be finished with an aesthetically pleasing material and requires 75% of the visible perimeter to be finished with acceptable glass, brick, or decorative masonry. Metal panels, however, are only going to be used on the west elevation to match what's already there on the west elevation, so staff is recommending that that be approved. There are no rooftop or other mechanicals that are anticipated to be needed at this time. They are not shown on the plans. Should mechanicals be required at some future date, there is a requirement for all of those to be screened per code. They also are going to expand the landscaping, so it will follow along the southern portion and wrap around that bottom corner. And then they are also going to do some enhancements to the existing landscaping along the west, planting a few more buffer trees, and also adding some landscaping around the existing stormwater infrastructure on the south. The only thing that's missing with the proposed landscaping plan is we need to know the height of the plants both at installation and maturity. Otherwise, staff is comfortable with the proposal as presented. If the Plan Commission is also comfortable with the proposal as presented, there is a suggested motion that the Plan Commission approves the site and building plans submitted by Gino Plitt of Bayview Industries, Inc. for the property at 7821 South 10th Street, subject to conditions 1 through 4. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much, Carrie. We do have one speaker patiently waiting. Fred, Nancy, you with us? Come on up, please. Name and address, sir.
Fred Klossiger, 1160 West Drexel Avenue. I'm speaking for my wife as well.
Okay.
We're actually glad that the factory is doing well. That's good for the community. The concerns that we have are threefold. One of them is the lighting issue. As it exists right now, there's a lot of light pollution coming off the factory. We've got trees in our yard that are about 40, 45 feet
Are
tall.
you living directly west of it?
We
Are you
live west of the,
on the
yeah,
service
we're the
road there?
third, we would be the third lot to the west.
Okay.
So our property will abut the corner of their proposed development. Like I said, some of the light pollution coming off the factory right now is kind of bad. We've done a lot of planting trying to screen it, but there's always gaps. I do have a light shining right into my living room window, which is kind of obnoxious at night. So that's one concern, that any development going, north and behind us, basically, is well screened with the landscaping and additional direction of the light to put it down where it needs to be instead of shining up into the
You
trees.
say that because they had a light, they had changed to LED a few years back. I was the alderman, well, really wasn't my district, but it literally was shining across Drexel on people.
Right,
on
right. Well,
10th
the lights on the west side
I
of
had
the
'em
building
put a-
are shining,
Yeah, I had them put a
into our
cutoff
yard.
shade on, and we could, Bayview's been great to work
Yeah.
with that. They
Right.
did it if
But those,
cutoff
as
shades-
it currently exists, those lights don't have any shade on the building itself.
Okay.
The parking lots are not an issue, it's the lights on the building. So again, that's one of our concerns.
Yeah.
Second concern is my wife walks to work. So with the additional parking spaces and employees and everything, we're concerned about being able to walk to the crosswalk there at 10th and Drexel. She can safely cross the street. Right now, she has to cut through their parking lot, and I'm just concerned that that's a safety issue. There should be a sidewalk along there. We have sidewalks in front of our property. They could just extend that to the corner. That's concern number two. The last issue is the drainage. On our survey map, that back corner of our yard is considered a wetland. And as it is now, the berm area that's on their property, all the water kind of drains towards us. When we get more than 2 inches of rain, that wetland area fills. And that's not a concern. I mean, it's a wetland, that's what it's supposed to do. What I'm concerned is that any development might increase the drainage to the point where, our yard is constantly flooded. And in addition to that, we've spent up to $10,000 and 4 seasons worth of work landscaping our yard. You're all invited to come and see how beautiful our gardens are. But we're concerned that any storm drainage solutions, not affect us. We don't want to see anything dug up or torn down.
Sure.
So those are our 3 issues.
Okay. We'll see if we can answer them. We got Brian's kind of our stormwater expert guy. I guess we'll start with that one.
Going this way?
Yeah.
The way that this is graded out, they're just adding the building in there. It's already impervious area. They're just adding the building on top of it. So
Right, but my concern is, are they doing anything to that property
No.
north of us? There's no parking lot going in there, so that berm will still be there.
Yeah, with the plans we have in front of us, the only thing they're doing is a building on the southwest corner of the
Right.
existing site, which is paved now. It's just, they're putting a
Right,
building
so
in
then that
that
shouldn't
space.
affect site drainage or
Drainage
anything.
should all stay the same as it
Right,
is
okay.
currently.
So then the big 2 issues then are the light pollution and the sidewalk.
And the sidewalk.
Actually,
The-
even given the roof, it'll probably capture more rain than the parking lot does.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The sidewalk might be a little challenging, given the utilities that
Mm-hmm.
are out there. Definitely something we can look at, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of a safety
I
concern.
know the sidewalk stops because
Right.
I live right off 10th there. I'm in the other subdivision. So I go by there daily.
Yeah, but when she has to cross the street, like I said, she walks to work, and she has to cross in the middle of Drexel there. It's safer to cross at the light, but in order for her to get to the light, to the intersection, she either has to walk in the street or in the grass or through their parking
In the
lot and
wintertime,
access
there's no-
road.
The snow piles up there, so
Yes,
she's
that's a
routing
concern as well.
it. So I mean, we can take a look at that. That would be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert at reading blueprints, but I didn't see any kind of provision for a sidewalk.
No, and I mean, back in the day, it was in the industrial park, so.
Right.
probably wasn't a thing. Light pollution, no. Like I say, I did have a resident on the other side of Drexel, 10th. They had it. I requested that the electrical inspector go out, take a look, and they
Yeah.
put a cutoff shade. That was a building light.
Right.
So I think that could be corrected. We could have Mario go out and maybe take a look. It's bothering you, and that's something, don't
It
live
does.
with it. Usually the businesses are very happy to comply with it.
Well, we've never approached them in the past. We've been there going on 5 years now.
Yeah, they
but-
put it up usually to protect their property and their.
Right, and I understand that, but, the light doesn't need to be shining up in the sky. Like I said, my trees are 40 foot tall and they're illuminated at night. That's not where the light needs to be for safety.
So
But-
we'll look at the existing building, not
Yeah.
only the addition, we'll look at the existing.
Yeah, we'll I'll make a note, or Brian, if you could mention it to Mario, take a look. Anyhow, yeah, but the lights they'd put on, I mean, they'd have to meet, foot candles and cutoffs and the whole deal. So, guys, you have something? Come on up. Yeah.
My name is Jeff Hook. I'm with Bryan Building Corporation. We're working for Gino and Gene doing this expansion. To address the three concerns, to be honest with this, first I've heard about the lighting. I left him my card. I mean, we'll talk to him about it. We'll do what we can to fix whatever the issue is. I don't go there at night, so I haven't seen it. So we'll do what we can. I'll talk to those guys and we'll fix it. The sidewalk, yeah, that's kind of a city question of whether you guys could do that. I think it makes sense, but I don't have any kind of a budget
Well,
to
we'd prefer
build
you to
a
do
public
it.
sidewalk. I'd love to have somebody pay me to do it. And the water, yeah, we're not actually the expansion that we're doing was in some plans from 1995, so it was always in the plan. We're cleaning up the stormwater, as you know, but we're not adding anything in that back area. So again, we'll talk. If you just want to email me, we'll have a conversation about it. So Gene and Gino have no intention of leaving there, and they're going to be happy, nice neighbors, and
It's great business.
yeah, they're a third generation, so
Yeah.
I don't expect there to be any issues with any of these questions.
Okay. Questions from commission?
Just one question. With the additional docks, would we have additional trucks? Number of trucks increasing?
I don't expect there to be. I think this is actually an opportunity just for them to have an extra space to leave a truck there for a little bit of time. You guys know more about the traffic that they have on a regular basis,
Yeah.
but these guys don't have heavy traffic in and out. They basically make these. So it was more about just having flexibility in that part of the plan. I don't expect there to be a huge change in traffic.
No, we visited them. We did a site visit with the business retention team, and the current docks face east. And probably the biggest challenge they have, they didn't have it in times past, but with Quick Trip coming in, they have to kind of back up, and the semis have to utilize the road a little bit. The back ain't quite there. So if they can take one to the back there to load it, it may be better if they're loading it with a forklift.
So the red box on the screen right now shows the approximate location of where all the docks are on the east side, and they'll be in there. If I actually go to their floor plan, you can see they're kind of in between existing docks. So there's already one dock to the north of one that's proposed. Actually, there's 3 docks to the north of one that's proposed. And then one in the middle, and then 3 south of that. So they're filling in what's already there. It's kind of, they're putting ones in the middle of the building on that side.
There's not a lot of choice, and knock on wood, I haven't heard a lot of complaints about it, but when we visited the business, that was a little bit of a challenge. Other than that, Brian, anything? Dawn? Any last things, Pat?
Nope.
If not, all right, motion on it.
Carol moves the commission approves the site and building plan submitted by Gino Plitt, Bayview Industries, Inc. for the property at 7821 South 10th Street with the following conditions. 1, that all relevant code requirements remain in effect. 2, that the plans are revised to include locations for all mechanicals, transformers, and utilities if added. All mechanical equipment, transformers, and utility boxes, ground, building, and rooftops shall be screened from view. That the landscape plan is revised to include the heights of plants both at installation and at maturity. That all revised plans, site building, landscaping, etc. are submitted in digital format for review and approval by the Department of Community Development prior to the submission of building permit applications.
Johnston seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, I.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
David, aye.
Burrell, aye.
And Fred, get together with him, address it, and the lighting issue, we should be able to work out a solution with Gene and Gino. Item 6F is a certified survey map combining the properties at 6616 and 6622 South 27th Street. Carrie?
The proposal is to combine the two properties that are highlighted in red on the screen right now. There is no proposal for development at this time following CSM. However, we have been informed that there is a desire at some point in the future to develop this as commercial. It has an old dwelling on it right now. I don't believe that it's currently being used for dwelling space. It is in a B2 district, and it is also in the overlay district, so at some point in the future when it does become redeveloped with commercial, it would have to come back before the Plan Commission. On the screen right now is the proposed CSM showing a lot of compliant size. There are no other changes proposed at this time. If the Plan Commission is satisfied with the CSM as proposed, there is a suggested motion that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that the certified survey map submitted by Island Sock and Sathi Kaling for the properties at 6616 and 6622 South 27th Street be approved with the condition that all technical corrections, including but not limited to spelling errors, minor coordinate geometry corrections, and corrections required for compliance with the municipal code and Wisconsin statutes are made prior to recording. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Again, it's we do have a speaker. Actually, not a speaker, but comments that if you'd like the speaker, I can read it in. Come on up, Cynthia. You've been waiting a long time here. Come on up. Name and address, please.
My name is Cynthia Coleman. I live at 2610 West Sycamore. I have a few concerns about this. We have, if you look at the lot, I'm the third house from the left on 27th Street, and they removed the very first house, and it's just horrible. They never cleaned it up. It just looks really horrible.
It is crappy looking.
Yeah, and since they put in those traffic lights, we have a lot of traffic now that comes into the subdivision where there are a lot of little children. They come into our driveways, they back out of our driveways. Believe it or not, we have groups of people across the street with this Pokemon Go, and we're talking 20, 30 people at a time because they put that Pokemon at that water tower across the street. My concern is I bought that property because it's very private. It has shrubs and trees all around it, and you really cannot see any of your neighbors. I put a jungle gym there for my grandchildren. When they come over, they can play and feel safe. If there's a commercial property that's going to butt up to the back of my lot, I no longer feel safe being the only person that lives in this house, or if my grandchildren are over and there's consistent strangers at the back of my lot. What is that also going to do to the value of our houses?
We're not changing
No,
the zoning yet.
no, not yet. All we're doing is combining the parcels.
I mean, valid point, but I don't know that we can really address
Right.
that part of it yet.
No, I can answer some of your questions on here.
Okay.
As far as buying the homes on Sycamore Avenue, which would be yours and the other two, at this time, I know nobody that's going to buy it in the city does not buy a property. That much I could say. Not to say that in the near future somebody wouldn't want to buy the corner and everything back.
Extend it.
They already bought the corner.
Well, I mean, extend the corner to what they're proposing.
Right.
Basically, buy your house and your two neighbors.
The reason I asked that I have seen survey people on my property in my driveway measuring 227th Street and across the street.
And we wouldn't have knowledge until they'd come to our departments and
Okay.
say, this is what we're looking to do.
And they'd have to contact you at
But-
some point
Okay.
if they were
Yeah,
interested.
but from the city's perspective, no, we don't buy property.
Okay. So I don't have to worry about that part.
Right. Right now, we're just combining properties. If somebody were to come forward, let's just take fictitious business, Widgets Are Us, then much like you've seen tonight with conditions and restrictions, we could require fence, berms, anything to protect you. Because again, we want to coexist, but we don't want to impact you. We want to limit the impact to you, your property,
Right.
and of course your value.
Right, that's what.
And they'd have to rezone.
The main thing
to
is
do
the
that.
safety when my
would.
grandchildren are over.
Right, and safety's utmost concern, not only for the doggy daycare, but for our
Right,
residents.
right.
Safety is number one. So again, we don't want to put you in imminent peril either, and it depends on what business,
Okay.
and
So we have no idea yet.
we have nothing. We just know they want to combine the properties at this time.
And it's actually a B1 zoning district. I misspoke, I thought it was B2. Not that it really affects this particular application, but any kind of business district that abuts a residential district, they also have to comply with buffer requirements. So the building will not be more than a certain distance from your property. In fact, the buffer requires them to be even further away from your property. Whenever they do propose something, they would have to meet the setback requirements. So if it's, I'll just throw out a number because I don't remember the setback off the top of my head, but if it's a 10-foot setback, they will be required to have a 20-foot buffer on top of that setback. Parking lots and everything else, that would also be required to meet setback requirements. And there would also be vegetation or a screen fence that would be required as part of that buffer to that residential district, which includes your house and the houses to the east and west of you, because it's the entire district. So wherever that proposed commercial development happens, that would all have to come back before the Plan Commission anyway. It would not require a rezone, but depending on what is proposed, it may require a conditional use. But at any rate, any kind of redevelopment of this property would have to come back before this commission. And you would get notified.
Thank you. Okay,
End
thank you.
result would probably be better than what's there now and giving you more space, actually.
Oh, there's a black lab that runs back there now and a kid that plays with him all day, so, I mean,
We got
but that's
a
their
bow wow
property.
camp for them now.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, can't follow.
all right, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I think that was it for the audience. Is there anyone else who wanted to say anything on that? Otherwise, I just have the last two. Please come on up, sir. Name and address.
Don Kleinader, 6612 South 27th.
Could you just repeat the name? You got to be on the mic.
Don Kleinader, 6612 South 27th. Property to the north. Is the combining also taking the zoning and making the whole lot be one then?
The
'Cause right now-
zoning would have to be changed separately. As a
The current zoning is B1 for the entirety of what will be Lot 1, so nothing needs to change in terms of zoning.
So it's not just the small part of that lot that was zoned B1?
No, it's the whole lot that is B1.
It is, okay. So it's already done
that's
that
just
way.
where it fell.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep. Commissioners, Christina?
No.
Brian? John? Last word, Pat? Nothing? All right, motion somebody, please.
Johnson moves that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that the certified survey map submitted by Island Sock and South Lake Coling for the properties at 6616 and 6622 South 27th Street be approved with the condition that all technical corrections, including but not limited to spelling errors, minor coordinate geometry corrections, and corrections required for compliance with municipal code and Wisconsin statutes are made prior to recording.
Hannah seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, aye.
Johnson, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Right.
Last item, 6G, is temporary use permit submitted by the House of Harley Davidson and One Headlight Power Sports LLC for temporary operation a motorcycle safety course in a parking lot located at 9725 South 13th Street. And is that Pete? I knew you were here for a reason, Pete.
Yes, I get to be here. Save the best for last? No? Is that how that is? Well, since I was been waiting so patiently, my computer has went to sleep. Now I need to get it to go. Got to enter my password in. So once I get that going, I will be set to present. Our code was entered.
Well, anyhow, while Pete's getting on there, just to give you an idea of where this property is, we're speaking about the parking lot of Kohler's. Would the applicant like to get up and just kind of describe what you guys do there?
We're good.
Oh, Pete, you got it?
I got it now. We're up and running.
That was
All right. The applicant is requesting a temporary use permit which would allow the House of Harley to operate a state-approved motorcycle training course in the southwest corner of the parking lot located at 9725 South 13th Street, also known as the Kohler's site. The applicant intends to conduct these training courses on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. However, keep in mind it is an outdoor training facility and weather is always an issue, so they would also like to have the ability to hold makeup days on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. This training course would operate until October 31st of this year. The applicant has received permission by Kohler's to operate this course and has the necessary insurance to have this type of operation in the parking lot. Up on the screen is a location map, but on the right-hand side I have a rectangle that shows the more precise area of the location of where the the motorcycle training course is going to be held. Staff sees that it's not going to impact the parking lot. It's quite a large parking lot there that employees and customers on a daily basis would not be negatively impacted by this. As part of this course, they do need to have a storage container on site. And they're proposing one of the cargo containers that you see in various construction sites where they will house all their paperwork as well as the motorcycles that the students will practice on. So they need to keep that on site in the parking lot throughout this temporary use. The applicant is asking for signage, and they would like to have two 32 square foot signs that can be attached to the cargo box. If you recall, last year they had two cargo boxes. They had the plain nondescript one, and then they had a second cargo box on top, all wrapped with Harley Davidson. Applicant and I discussed about our concerns about having such large signage and using, cargo containers as advertising, and so they said that they would be able to work within the 32 square foot rule. And so staff is comfortable allowing them to have two 32 square foot signs, one on each side of the cargo so you could see it from the freeway or for customers within the parking lot. Staff believes that the proposed location is appropriate as it's located next to the freeway and quite a distance from a residential area to the south. With that said, staff has prepared a motion that the Plan Commission approve the temporary use permit for the operation of a motorcycle training course with conditions 1 through 3.
And any questions from commissions? Christina?
I'm very concerned with the noise, especially from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's a lot of noise, and it's very close to a residential area on 13th Street, going south.
Well, come on up to the podium.
Okay, go ahead. Come up to the podium.
Tom Mills, I'm the lead writer for the House of Harley. I've been affiliated with them for 13 years, and I'm one of the instructors that started the class over at that establishment.
Okay, so I guess my concern is the noise, the level of noise, especially that early in the morning at 7 a.m. And there is some resident districts just to the south of that location. I know that because I lived in one of them, so I would be very, very concerned with that level of noise at 7 a.m. in the morning. So what are your thoughts on that, since you are the director and you have been doing so?
Our level of noise is no louder than what I am speaking now. The motorcycles you cannot hear run with the road traffic. We have all we can do to speak loud enough so the students can hear us operating when they have the helmets on. We have not had anybody come for a noise complaint. This is just one of the 2 locations that we do operate. We operate also at Loomis Road Park and Ride. There is a residential home approximately 100 yards from
I know
the
where it is.
training site.
Yeah.
And we have not had any neighbors complain at all of noise. It is a 500cc motorcycle, and we tell the students, if you want to go all the Harley noise, it sounds like a sewing machine. Wee, 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 not roam, roam.
If I could just chime in, what was the type of motorcycle that you use at the training compared to what would compare to like a Harley that you would hear elsewhere?
We use a Harley-Davidson Street 500cc. It's a mid-size motorcycle, but it is a true motorcycle that is available for the general public to buy.
I don't know what is that, so I'm not a motorcycle
I
expert.
put it this
so
way, I'm a motorcycle guy. It's a quiet motorcycle. You're going to get more noise off I-94 than you're going to off these. You're not going to get the loud pipes on these classes. Most importantly, they want people to properly learn how to drive them, get the feel of them, and the last thing they need is the distractions, the pipes and sounds.
And if I don't know if you were aware, they were operating last summer. Yes, they were notified that they needed to go through this review process, and so they did operate last year at the exact same site.
I never knew, so here you go.
There you go.
It's a good spot for it.
It's a good spot, and it's a great service,
And the
too.
freeway noise is a good point. I think that would drown out anything. I just went by, I don't know whose it is, by Barnacle Buds down there on that side. They teach them in those warehouses. This last weekend, car windows down, you couldn't hear any. I mean, they're kind of little toy motorcycles, what they're practicing on. It's not very noisy.
And they don't have the beefed up pipes.
We got a huge parking lot over there, not doing much of anything.
No.
A lot of asphalt.
Brian, anything?
We are just down to 1 container for this.
Yes, yep, we have the 1 container that will store the motorcycles and whatever
The
other,
signage, right?
you said some paperwork and some other stuff, but yeah, they would not have the double stack cargo like they did last summer.
And where are we planning on putting the container? Is it going to be along the freeway? Is it along the building?
It is in line 100 and... How many feet, Mark, is it from the grass
Mark, we'll
line?
need your name and address if you're on the mic.
Mark McLean, House of Harley, 6221 West Layton Avenue. In reference to the 40-foot container, if you're looking at the diagram, it would be in the would be the northwest corner, the very corner of the blue rectangle. And that's what's required by the state of Wisconsin. There has to be a minimum of 20 to 40 feet runoff from where the actual bikes operate to where any kind of obstacle, whether it's a tree or a curb or a container or anything like that. So it's at minimum 40 feet off the range on the northwest corner of the sight line there.
Parking lot. It's right in line with the light pole line off of the range, so we have plenty of room.
Okay, thank you.
On? Nope. Anything, Pat? No, nothing from me. You're comfortable with the 32 foot square banner? And again, it's only temporary. There is a sunset on this. They're done operating October 31st. And you guys would set up business probably as soon as we drop the hammer on this and say go, right?
Correct. And then be back next winter because we run it every year from April 1st
Start a
through.
little.
Yep. Right.
Sure.
Yes.
Again, I think it's a good offering for city residents. And, we have quite a few motorcycle events down here from the Bike Blessing. We just had the romp down here, so it's a good thing. All right, motion.
Grell moves the commission approves the temporary use permit for the operation of a motorcycle training course with the following conditions. 1, that operations can be conducted 7 days a week between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. 2, that signage is limited to 2 32-square-foot signs attached to the 1 cargo container. And 3, that the permit expires October 31st, 2018.
Johnson seconds.
Roll call.
And I.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Corral, aye.
And before we adjourn, I'd like to thank staff. Great job as always. Went very smoothly. You guys always have the answers we need. Thank the IT guy, Tim. I don't know who came up with the X's and the circles, but it was very helpful on that one item. Carrie, thank you for that. And then one more thing for everybody out there watching, our farmers market takes place every Saturday morning. I urge you to get out there, give it a shot. It's right here in Drexel Town Square. About 10 o'clock, we have a certified culinary chef who comes in and teaches and makes things that you can purchase at the market. He's on at 10 o'clock. So I urge you to get out there, explore, and celebrate Oak Creek at this week's farmers market. So with that, adjournment, please.
Grillo moves to adjourn at 7:31.
Corral seconds.
Roll call.
Anna, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Corral, aye.
That is it. Thank you very much.